Hi everybody, my name is Jamie Perkins and today we'll be discussing how calling actors by their real names and not by a role you know them by is very important for a number of reasons. Now I know that the title is a little bit long, but bear with me because I will be saying it a few more times. With that being said, I'd like to take a moment and allow you to think about your favorite actor. So for me, one of my favorite actors is John Krasinski. I know him as Jim from The Office. That's what I've called him many a times, Jim from The Office. Who's your favorite actor? How do you know him? What do you call him? Keep that in mind for the rest of this presentation. So I recently read a memoir about a Jennette McCurdy called I'm Glad My Mom Died. The title is a bit harsh, I must admit. Even I looked at it a little weird. But it's all about how her mother and her mother's mental illnesses affected her. She was forced into child acting and everything that she went into. It really made me realize what I knew about the actors that I love and how I don't actually know a lot about them and I know a lot more about their character. And I didn't really think about that or anything like that. So I took a lot from her book and it really allowed me the space to think and research, and I hope the information I gave you today will allow you that same space and freedom. First, we'll be discussing how calling an actor by their character's name and not their real name kind of forces them to lose their sense of self. For example, actors embody a character so well and sometimes for so long that people only know their character and don't really know the actor. So when they see those actors out in real life, they assume that they will act or talk like their character did, and it kind of forces actors to be the character instead of the real person that they are. For example, Jennette McCurdy, who played Sam Puckett in iCarly, she is not really like Sam at all. She's very quiet, she enjoys reading, she enjoys researching, where Sam was kind of a rebellious, loud character. And she kind of feels like nobody wants to get to know Jennette because everybody knows Sam. So now that we understand what it might do to their sense of self, let's talk about how this might affect their mental health. For example, according to Hayden Christensen, who played Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars Episodes 2 and 3, the extremely long work days forced great mental damage. For example, he was told during the entire time in this closed off set that this was his big break, that he was going to be amazing, that his acting skill was great. But when the reviews came out, that was kind of further from the truth, and everybody knew him as Anakin. He could no longer get jobs, he could no longer get parts, he was only known as Anakin. He now is 40 years old and living on a farm because just all the fame from doing 2 of those movies and everything else being washed out, it really just affected him mentally. Also, Jennette McCurdy was forced to, on these closed sets, to drink alcohol, get inappropriate massages from Nickelodeon executives, and they commented on her weight so much so, and her character was so obsessed with food, it actually ended up giving her an eating disorder. So these types of lack of identification and lack of care for the actor versus the character they're playing can really affect them mentally. So far we have learned about what calling actors by their characters instead of by their actual names can do to their lack of character, to their mental health. But now let's talk about how this might affect their careers. So I briefly touched on it in a previous slide about Hayden Christensen and how this affected him. For a moment, let's talk about Tim Allen. So Tim Allen is always kind of cast as the funny sitcom dad. Even when he has a little bit serious roles, he's always the comic relief to a more serious character. Actors get stuck in one character or one archetype of character because of audience recognition and what audience expect. If we started calling actors by their actual names and not characters, they would be a lot freer to explore their craft. Now, I'm not saying that every actor is kind of stuck in this bubble. Some actors like a certain character type, but I believe that calling actors by their actual names would give them the freedom to choose that. instead of kind of being stuck in a bubble. It's also hard for audience members when they meet people because you expect them to be a certain way, and that can kind of be a little jarring. Audience members can create parasocial relationships, which means that it's a one-sided friendship with a celebrity, which can end up causing attachment issues and things like that, putting more stress on the actors because of a character we know them as and not as an actual person. In conclusion, calling actors by their actual names and not their character names can give them back a sense of self, it can help their mental disorders, and it can overall just help their careers and make them feel more like a person. Think about that actor I asked you about earlier. Will you call them by their real name or the character you know them as? Thank you so much.